Hi, today I am going to show you guys how to make a redneck loom. You know those rubber band bracelets, like these, that all the kids are making? I wanted to do this, but I didn't really want to spend a whole lot of money on it. So I ended up making my own loom. Now it doesn't have the versatility that the big long one does, but it doesn't really matter for my purposes. This is just so that I could make some bracelets and see how it is and be like all the cool kids. So I went online and of course I YouTubed some videos, and some people were showing how you make them on your fingers and how to make them on the loom. Well, using them on your fingers, these itty bitty rubber bands, they are really tiny, so when you put them on your fingers and you know, do this and you have like 3 of them on at once, your fingers really start to turn purple. And so I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Let me create my own loom. And at the point in time that I wanted to do this, of course we're in the middle of moving, and I didn't have the supplies that I really would have liked to do this, and the tools to make it. So it was kind of just like a quick thing. You know, I asked my dad, I was like, hey Dad, you got any scrap pieces of wood lying around or something? You know, hopefully he hasn't moved them to the other house. And we did, and we had a toolbox, and we had everything to at least make a quick little loom. So this is a tutorial on how to make your own loom without spending I think the Rainbow Loom is like 17 bucks, and you could do a whole lot more with that, but for my purposes I just wanted to make some little bracelets, and I didn't need, you know, a whole bunch of little pegs. So this is a video on how to do that. So for your supplies, you are going to need a block of wood, some small nails, a paper clip, scissors, and of course your rubber bands, preferably from Rainbow Loom. Alright, so you just saw the list of supplies that you need to make this, and so here is the piece of plywood that I had found laying around. We cut it down to this little square. As you can see, it's been used before. Don't know what, but whatever. Then you'll also want to find some small nails. Not too big, otherwise, you know, it's going to be kind of hard to pull the rubber bands up and over. So about 1 inch. You know, these are probably things you can find to hang pictures and whatnot, to put things into the wall. So, you know, just little things. It could be either kind. Like these were just laying around. I used these to make mine, and you just hammer them in. I chose to do 3 around. However, you can do as many as you want, depending on the bracelet you want to make. 3 creates a bracelet that looks like this. Let's zoom in on that. And you can see that it's kind of tightly woven in there. This is a fishtail. This is also a fishtail, but it uses only 2 pegs. So you can see the difference in the stitches. And I just stick with 3 because that's what I like for now. Eventually I will make another one of these things, and it will probably contain 6 altogether. So that creates a really, really tight bracelet and whatnot. The other thing that I'm going to probably do on the next one I make is drill a large enough hole in here to start pulling the bracelet through here. You'll see what I mean later, because you definitely have to pull the bracelet to tighten up those rubber bands. But this is how I make it. This is your loom. And usually in the kits they give you crochet hooks, or I don't know, some kind of little hook, but it looks like a crochet hook. Of course, because I was moving, I packed them all up, and I don't know where they are. So instead of a crochet hook, I ended up using a paper clip. Just unbent it and bent it at the very tip, just so that I would be able to go in there and pull up my bottom rubber bands up and over the pegs. So again, this is probably costing you nothing, especially, you know, if you do have wood lying around. Now, you might have to ask some people if they have any scrap wood, but I know I have that laying around. Okay, so quick thing about rubber bands is that there's probably a few different companies out there, but I prefer the Rainbow Loom ones. They usually come in a bag like this. They say Rainbow Loom on top. And they even tell you down here when they were made. So that's kind of cool, that you know that you're not getting really old rubber bands. The other thing is that they do not contain latex. So this is probably good for people who have latex allergies and are a little bit afraid of, you know, what might be in the rubber bands, and you don't want to break out and go into the hospital for some reason. So they come in bags like that usually. There is another brand out there that makes the rubber bands, and it's called Colorful Loom, and I'm not too crazy about those. These are actually the rubber bands. They're not as consistent around as the Rainbow Loom ones. They tend to be thinner in some places and thicker in other places. It makes a very lumpy bracelet, but if you're not particular, I guess it doesn't really matter. Now, as you can see, I store my rubber bands in Crystal Light containers. We tend to drink a lot of Crystal Light, so I just use these containers to store my rubber bands in. A lot of people use, I guess, the large containers, and they're all sectioned off and they have all their colors all over in there. And you know, again, I was trying to be cheap about this, and so I drink so much Crystal Light, and I'm a hoarder, so I save things like plastic containers, and it comes in handy most times. So anyways, also besides the rubber bands that you need, each bag usually comes with C-clips. I will zoom in on this. Each bag comes with C-clips. Now, these are the Rainbow Loom ones, and these are the Colorful Loom ones. As you can see, these are nice and small, and these are kind of chunky and big. They look more like links to an actual chain. They're all twisty and stuff. And I think they're a little big to be using. I prefer not to use them. So I really like these the most. They create a cleaner look than those big chunky ones. And I don't have one of those chunky ones on a bracelet yet because I really don't like them. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to start a fishtail bracelet using the 3 pegs. Now, there's other ones out there, and if you use the big loom, you can make a whole array of different bracelets and rings and whatevers. But, like I said, I like the 3 fishtail. It just is a nice bracelet, and it's pretty simple to learn and use. Okay, now the first rubber bands that you're going to be using, you're going to need, for this one particularly, you're going to need 3 rubber bands. Now I'm going to start with black. The first rubber bands that you put on here are actually going to be cut off. So I don't know if, you know, what if you're running down to the end of a color and you're like, oh no, I don't know what to use up. Use something that you're not afraid to cut away if that's an issue. It doesn't really matter to me. So, all you have to do is grab a rubber band and you put it on there and you twist it. And it's because these are not exactly, you know, I didn't space them to be perfect or anything. This is not what I was going for. I just wanted to get them done. Maybe the next one will look more professional looking, but this is a Redneck Loom. It's not supposed to look professional. Anyways, so you're going to twist that first one on, then you're going to go to the next one and twist that one on. You can just push them down. As you can see, I've also been painting all day today, so my hands are a little bit speckly. You're going to take that third one and you're going to put it over, and you can just push that down. Ta-da! Now, you are going to take your next colors, however you want to make this bracelet. Today I am going to alternate them, black and orange, because it's going to be easier to understand the first time around. You can get braver as time goes on to create different patterns. So, now what you're going to do is take the next color rubber band, and you're just going to put it around all three of them. They're not looped or anything, and I just use this to help push them down. Now you're going to alternate colors, so the orange is actually your very first color that you've put down. So now my next one is going to be black. Again, you're just going to put that around it. Push it down. Now, as you can see, you've got your three colors there, black, orange, black. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull those first black rubber bands up and over. So you're going to grab it with your makeshift crochet hook and pull it over. Can you see that? And then you're going to do the same thing. Now it looks a little funny here. Just push it down and you can see where your rubber bands are. You're just going to go in there, loop those two rubber bands that were at the very bottom, and just pull them up and over. And do that on the very last one. And just pull it up and over. Now you can push that down, and it looks a little, doesn't look like much right now, but it will. So now you can see that you have two rubber bands around your pegs, and now you know that it's orange, black, and if the next color is orange, you're going to put that on. You're just going to go around all three pegs again, like that. Push that down. And now you're going to pull the orange, the very bottom one, up and over that. You're going to do that on all three of them. Okay. So now you can see that that actually looks kind of clean there. And now, since orange is on top and black is on the bottom, your next color is going to be black. So now you're going to just keep doing this and alternating, always bringing the bottom rubber band up and over those two. Sometimes it's not exactly easy. I imagine if these nails were spaced further apart, it probably would be a little bit harder to do. So try not to space them too far apart when you nail them in. Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle. And now you're going to keep doing that. Now I'm going to go work on this, and when I come back, I'll show you what happens when it starts to get longer and how you have to pull it through. So now you can see that I've put enough rubber bands on that it's now touching the bottom of the wood, and this is where you're going to start pulling your rubber bands out, just to stretch them out a little bit so that you don't have this fat kind of bracelet. And now you can actually see that this creates a, we'll call it a flower at the very end of it. You just pull that. Don't forget, you're going to actually cut those flower petals off, and you're just going to pull this so that it gets a little bit longer. and that they kind of mesh together nicely. And when you do that, of course, now you can see your center is all caca, and you can just push it back in and just make it look pretty again. Push it down and you can continue working on this. So now I'm gonna do that, and you will see how I actually end this. Now, a lot of videos on the internet I have seen don't exactly explain that well, so I'm going to show you a detailed version of how to end one of these bracelets, because it's hard, but it's not as hard as you might think it is. So I'll be back. Okay, so I've now made my bracelet. There's just a few more that I have to put onto here to make it go all the way around, and I actually, as you know, it gets longer and longer, I actually keep checking to make sure, it's usually not this hard, to see if it goes around. So what I'll do is, you know, check it to see how far it's coming, and this one probably needs like 3, maybe 4 more. You don't want to make them too tight because they are rubber bands, and like I said before, it started to cut off the circulation on my fingers, so it's going to do the same exact thing to your hand if you have a bracelet that's too tight. So I will just put a few more on there, and I'll show you how to end it. And I'm not exactly sure how many rubber bands are in a bracelet. It all depends on the size of the wrist. I'm actually making most of these for adults, we'll call them. Yes, my friends. Oop. See, actually, I just did that wrong. I put 2 blacks on, and I don't really want to do that. And it's just easy to back up. But anyways, I just kind of judge it off of my own wrist to see if, you know, it's gonna fit. Some people have smaller wrists, and I know that, you know, so I'll just make it a few rubber bands shorter, or, you know, and then I will base it off of that. If it's a little tight on me, it probably isn't all that tight on them. And then same thing goes for a bigger wrist. So we'll just put a few more on here. And pull it, push it back, and check it. And this seems about right. Sorry, there you go. That seems about right. So that should work. And if, you know, if somebody says that's too tight, then you know for the next time that it needs to be maybe a little bit bigger. So now this is, you've put on your final color or whatever, and so what you're going to do is actually, let's zoom in a little bit more because this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So now what you're going to do is you have your 2 rubber bands on here, and usually you would put another one on and pull up that bottom one, but this time you're just going to pull up that bottom one up and over just to end this. Like so, on all 3 of them, and you can see that like that loop is a little bit bigger there. You can always just grab the orange that you had just pulled over. There we go, and you know, kind of even out the loops so that they're not all, you know, ginormous on one side but not on the other. So just give it a little tug. It looks pretty good. I'm not going to be too picky about this. So now you only have that 1 rubber band on there. And now I am going to use my C-clip, the one that I like, not the big chunky one. And what I'm going to do is take these and put them, now you can, there's probably many ways of doing this, but I usually use the hook to help me put them on. So you're going to just take it off the peg, and you'll loop it onto. Like I said, sometimes it's a little bit harder. Just loop it into that C hook. And the last one, which sometimes can be a little bit more difficult, but maybe not. There, as you can see, I don't always use the hook. It just depends on what I feel like doing. Just make sure that it's on there. Ta-da! So now you can put your Redneck Loom off to the side. You don't need it anymore. And because of how I was pulling my rubber bands, it kind of made a little U shape, so it easily helps you figure out which direction to put it in and keep everything in a straight line. You don't want to end up curling this thing up and around and trying to hook it in here. It just, you know, will look all wonky. So now, remember, we have this little flower petal thing going on here. And now this is the hard part, we'll say. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but there is, you have your orange here, then you have your black, and then you have your orange. This is the one that you actually started with, if you remember back in the beginning. So now you can see that the orange is coming up and through this black, and that's exactly what you want. So now you'll see in here that that orange is on the outside of your center, let's say, because you'll have your orange, and then you have the black that it's actually going through right in here. And two of these are going to be the same. So it kind of makes it easy. So I usually just grab that one so that I know that one's a good one. And then just go on to the next one, and you can see that the orange is coming through the black here nicely. So you're going to grab that one as well. So now I've got the two that are actually good. Okay, and usually what I'll do is I'll kind of slip these over my fingers for the little bit of time that's going to be on there. It's not going to take my finger off. So now you're going to see down in here, it's a little bit of a mess, but you can see that the black is actually on the outside of this one, and that's not what we want. So we're going to have to go through this black and grab that orange that's sitting on the inside. And this might be a little bit tricky, but it's not too hard once you start getting the hang of it. So you're going to pull that up and through that black like this. Ta-da! Got it. And like I said, I just hold that on there onto my finger so that it's nice and tight, and you can see that it came up and through right here. So now you're going to grab the other end and make sure it's not all twisted. And I usually just take that C-clip and I just put it right through all three of those that are sitting on my finger. Makes it really nice when they're stretched out so that you can see that it's now hooked. And now these you actually are going to cut, and if I can find my scissors, you're just going to cut these black ones, these flower petals that are on the bracelet off. 1, 2, and 3. So now with them cut, you can just easily pull them right out and throw them away. You do not need them. And so now your bracelet has ended really nicely. And you can see that it's all pretty. Let's back up. Ta-da! So that's how you make a Rainbow Loom bracelet on a Redneck Loom. And this is one that I had made the other night, just using a different pattern. I went 3 orange, 1 black, 3 orange, 2 black. So you can see that it's the same exact thing with the 3 pegs, just with a different color combination and, well, not color combination, but, you know, the pattern combination. So you can see that it's the same thing, but yet it's different. So this is how you do it, and, you know, they're about the same size. So that's how you make stuff on Redneck Looms. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to get to everyone if this video actually becomes popular. Who actually knows? I'm not even doing this for views. I'm actually doing this for friends who keep asking because they're just as cheap as I am. Bye!